Hi, everybody. This is Vincent, and you're on Hanging on Sunset. Well, I hope everybody is feeling well out there. The virus is coming back. It feels like everybody around me is like getting sick again. Well, I hope you're fine and you're hanging there and have great news for you. We are back. I know we haven't been releasing any episode in a while. Sometimes life happens. You know it. You know it better than me. But here we are, back with a summer special. We were invited to the desert in the Pioneertown area, close to Joshua Tree, and there was a special event over there. It was the Pioneertown Film Festival. It's a Western movie film festival. I know what you're thinking. You're like, all right, but Hanging Out Sunset's not about Western movies. No. But I had to say they had a pretty strong music program with the film festival. And one of the first highlights of the festival was the concert of the Dandy Warhols. Yes, that band, we used to be friends, Bohemian Like You. I'm sure you all know those songs. And we've been lucky enough because we scored an interview with Courtney Taylor-Taylor, the singer and leader of the band. And actually, we got to interview all the musicians that were scheduled at the festival. So in the coming weeks, we're going to be releasing all those interviews for you. That's why I call it a summer special, because I think it's going to span until August, because we got to interview, yes, Courtney Taylor-Taylor, but also Jessica Von Rabbit, the queen of the high desert, a newcomer to the scene called El Kaplan, who is LA-based. We got to interview also Graham Leader, who's the producer of the music documentary Heart One Highways. Ooh, that's hard to pronounce when you're French. Lots of H's here. But just so you know, this documentary about what they call outlaw country music or alternative country, he's really one of my favorites of all time. So you should definitely listen to that interview too. And also the legendary old-timers, the Sons of the Pioneers. You might not know all of these bands, but I hope you're going to stay with me and discover them, because they're all very different, but they're equally talented. And regarding the Sons of the Pioneers, for example, this band have been around since 1933. Yes, 1933. 88 years of performing Western music. I mean, that's pretty special. So I wanted to know more about them. I had a little interview with them too. So let's start this episode with the Dandy Warhols and Courtney Taylor-Taylor. What better way to start our summer special coverage of the Pioneertown Film Festival than by talking to one of America's greatest bands? On the morning of the first day of the festival, Courtney Taylor-Taylor agreed to meet with me in the press lounge before the band performed a psychedelic and rather trippy set for the attendees later that night. I was very pleased, of course, to meet him, because the Dandies are one of the most original bands I have ever heard in my entire life. Just take a look at their impressive discography on your preferred platform and see for yourself. They just don't give a damn about expectation, and they play whatever inspires them, which is very, very inspiring. To me, they're in the same category of artists like David Bowie, for example. Yeah, I know it sounds like a big comparison, but really, that's what I think. And actually, they shared the stage with Bowie. I think they were his favorite band back in the day when they toured with him. And not only I had the chance to interview Courtney Taylor-Taylor, and then see them perform at the soundstage, which is like an old country dance hall that wasn't really made to welcome any rock bands, but somehow with their technicians, they made it work, and it was incredible. Not only that, but also after their show, all the attendees had headed to the Red Dog Saloon. Pioneertown is an old Western movie set, and it is like an old Western town, and all the buildings are reminiscent of the 1880s, I would say. So they played, and then we go to the Red Dog Saloon, and everybody's having fun, and then I spot Courtney again, and I came to him, and we start talking again about wine and music, because you'll see this interview is all about music and wine somehow. And he invited me to an after party. So we ended up at an Airbnb, I guess, that one of his friends was renting for the occasion, and this friend was none other than Donovan's son. Yes, that Donovan, the British singer, legendary singer. So we ended up there and we spent the night like listening to music and drinking bad wine because that's all we could find, right? So I have to say that was a really great night, great day, and I'm very excited about it and happy to share my interview with Courtney with you because I think it's really, really inspiring, especially if you're a band in town and you're always, dealing with expectations from other people, from the industry, that you're dealing with, the constant need of validation on the socials. Well, it's a great lesson here because Courtney Taylor-Taylor doesn't give a fuck about anything of this. And somehow, well, he made a career out of it. So let's hear the show. I can hear myself I can hear you very well.
Okay.
You have a nice deep voice. Pleasant.
Good.
It's rolling.
Okay.
And, so it's going to be like a free conversation mostly.
Good.
And I'll try not to have like too much preconceived questions for you. But just so you know.
They're never very good. People think of questions, they tend to just think of the same questions everyone else thought of for the last 40 years of interviewing bands in
that's
the world.
That's why I try to avoid.
Yeah, good. It's a good plan.
I'm a musician myself, and I started this at the beginning of the pandemic, reaching out mostly to first local LA bands because I'm based out of LA, and it was a good time to reflect on what we're achieving with my band in LA and realizing that we were pretty much alone in that city. Like we didn't have a bond with a scene or anything. And I was like, let's try to reach out to other bands and see who they are, because it seemed like it was like very competitive. And every time we played in the clubs around LA, it was like really weird. Like we had our friends come to see us, and then they would leave and they didn't stay for the other bands, and it was the same with the other bands. And it was like, what's happening with this city, It's
Los Angeles.
I know.
It's a business.
It's not
a scene. It's not. Yeah, we didn't have a scene either. We just started playing, but we also went to see other bands, local bands, all the time because there's nothing else to do in Portland in the early 90s. So we knew who we wanted to, we would go down and we'd say, oh, Sown is playing, let's go see them, and they'd have 30 people to see them, right? Their friends would go, or they'd have 18 people or something. So it wasn't like a big deal to go after the show and go, hey man, we have a band called the Dandy Warhols. We're brand new. We want to open for you. You don't have to pay us or anything. But we saw that you're playing here 2 weeks from tomorrow. And they'd go, really? Yeah, we love your band, and we want to hang out. And then Pete's parents are gone all summer. They're in Africa. And we're house sitting their house on the hill. And they have a pool on top of the hill.
Nice.
And like all this acreage, and so we can have a big party there and go have a swimming pool, a pool party after the show.
Oh, nice.
And so we would have like 18 people up to the house, and drag a bunch of, like, oh, blah, 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 like this, because this friend or that friend would be like, oh, I just made a keg of beer 2 weeks ago. There's about half of it left. And then all these kind of things would happen, and somebody would have like a bunch of hits of acid and, or a bag of mushrooms or something, and we just hung out and we'd buy beers or alcohol to go from the bar if we could, or and we just built our own scene that way by just being friendly and having the right haircuts and going to see the other bands with the right look, and which is different than now, because now everybody's got a look and everyone's stylish.
Because
in '93,
social medias and stuff, you have to always represent yourself, I guess.
Yeah. In '93, it wasn't, it was very rare that you found a band that was kind of your style. Mostly it was like, I guess it was a lot of grunge and rap rock back then. And so for us to find bands that would, hit the delay pedal and pull out a toy ray gun and press it against the 40-year-old pickup and have it, and that's the guitar solo. Like, to find bands like that, it was like, finding a needle in a haystack. So when you did, you went, hey, we want to play with your band. We got to hang out. And hey, by the way, we can have a pool party on the hill afterwards.
Well, bonus. That's good.
That really worked.
Coming from France, and I was a huge fan of Elliott Smith when I grew up. So to me, like, I had a kind of a fantasy of the Portland scene, because there are other bands from the 90s. Of course, your band, but also like Sleater-Kinney and other bands in the 90s that were...
Sleater-Kinney wasn't a Portland band.
Oh, really?
They were from up the street, up the I-5 a ways.
Okay.
I think they were... I guess they were just a Seattle band. And I remember when they started moving down to Portland, but we were gone all the time by then because we had gotten signed. So I don't think I've ever met anyone from that
but
band.
Anyway, to me, it's like the Dandy Warhols were never trying to fit in anyway.
Yeah, we didn't.
In any scene, like, you wanted to do... I think I read somewhere that you said that you wanted to put the last nail in the grunge coffin. So you didn't try to chase the trend.
Yeah, all we cared about was just being able to make music that we liked. And make sure it didn't sound like anyone else, because we'd be embarrassed to sound like somebody else, Yes. Incidentally, then 10 years later, when I was sitting on our tour bus on the Bowie's last European tour, we were very good friends at the time, and we were his favorite band, and so he took us on tour, and we both were releasing records at the same time, and so we went out to my tour bus, and he and I are sitting there listening to each other's records, and we would put out Welcome to the Monkey House, which nobody was doing synthesizers, vintage synths and stuff like that at the time.
At the time, yeah.
It was very Jack White driven, and,
New Garage.
13 Tails was big, so you got the Hives, Jet, the Vines, the Strokes. It was an awesome time. I mean, it was an awesome time for music. I was just happy as a clam, but I wanted to do something different again, and so we made this synthy record, and it was Only the Faint was the only other band I knew, which incidentally the singer and his wife are coming tonight.
Oh, nice.
So that'll be cool. I'll finally get to meet him, which I'm excited about. But I'm sitting there with David and on the tour bus, and we're 3 songs into Welcome to the Monkey House, and he says, Courtney, why do you always want to be the first to do everything? It's so much more profitable to be the second. And I just thought, and at the time I was like, oh my God, I'm such an idiot. And my only answer to that is, well, I'd be embarrassed to be the second, And coming from Bowie, who always, try new stuff. Every record was different. But in his mind, he was always imitating something that was established as big. And I mean, it wasn't until, a couple of years later that I was listening to like Golden Years or something, and I went, what did he think this was? And then I thought about Heroes, and I went, what did he think that was? And then I thought about, and you just go on, Life on Mars. What did he think that was? What did he thought he was imitating something that was already established every time. And he talked about the most absolutely bona fide inventor. He was like a mad scientist. I mean, he has whole records without one hit or without even one truly cohesive song on it. Like, he is an absolute pure research. He was doing pure research. You know, he was always, you know, not always, but he occasionally would bemoan the fact that he had so many failed attempts. And it's like, well, that is the, like, the stamp of approval. That's
exactly
that says you are always trying to break ground.
If you're not researching, what are you doing? Right?
Yeah, it's not like you get these inventors that you know, invent the, like, my great grandfather invented the extending hydraulic ladder on the back of a truck.
Ooh,
and
wow.
they sold it. He and his buddies sold that patent outright. They didn't keep a percentage of it because they thought, oh, we're going to have a lot of hits. You know, and never didn't have, you know, he invented some mining equipment, but that only sold to big companies, a few, you know. So, you know, that's the nature of true inventors, is you only learn by failure, right?
Exactly.
And that's why, you know, David wasn't the biggest. He wasn't selling as many records as Michael Jackson, but when David passed, it was the biggest deal. Like, if he was on the cover of everything, it was a big deal. It was like when Elvis died, I think.
And when he died,
he was so
the world
important.
just shattered. Everything has been worse and worse since he died, right?
I think you might be right. Yeah, yeah.
Maybe there was a shift. And
yeah, he was fantastic. But I think the thing about us always trying to just do something that no one else is doing, I think now that I'm reliving that here verbally and going through it, it seems like if we had tried to imitate what other people were doing, we probably wouldn't have been good enough at it anyway to be caught doing it. It probably would have been original, because it took us, you know, 10 or 15 years to become truly good at our instruments, you know.
Oh yeah, I read about that when you formed the band, like, for example, when you found Zia, like, you were happy that she couldn't play an instrument because I guess that's
no bad habits.
Yeah, no bad habits.
I as a drummer, you know, I grew up being a percussionist in symphonic bands, and played in marching band and jazz lab and everything. You know, I was a drummer's drummer. I can play Afro-Cuban beats, I can sight read music, and I can write charts out in the old style by hand and all that stuff. And when Pete moved back from New York, he just said, we've got to put a band together. Let's just play the songs that you write alone in your room and never play for anyone that I hear because I'm your roommate now. Let's just put a band together and not have good musicians, and you don't play drums, you sing and play guitar, which I had never done before. And that way we can at least meet people in cool bands that have good record collections, because all your friends have horrible taste in music, but they're really great pianists or trumpet players or violin players or cello players or whatever. And I was like, yeah, I hate all my friends' records, you know. Their bands are terrible, they're awesome players. And so when we put a band together, the point was to just get like-minded people, and who we respected each other's style and personalities a lot. Which is why we've been a band probably for 28 years, is just because we can know that
you can live together.
Yeah, we enjoy each other's company.
Yeah,
you know, like, we're stuck out in the desert in some, you know, hipster place, you know, where we are trapped out there. Like last night, we got
Airbnb or something.
We got trapped out there. It's like a big piece of land that this dude has, like, old trailers and stuff on.
Oh, wow.
And one sort of, you know, kind of plywood house that has a little living room in it. So we ended up back at, that's my place. So we ended up back at my place. And I was just like, yeah, we just, you know, we had some food brought out, and we just sit around. We enjoy each other's company. We love hanging out. We like being together, and
that's very important, I guess. And talking about experimenting and doing research and enjoying each other's company, I guess it's very important for you to have a lab to do all that, and that's why you built your own studio. And actually, I've heard that you've never actually been to a proper studio. You've always rented warehouses before you got your own studio and stuff. So I guess it's important to be able to be there whenever you want and just...
Absolutely. We have a wine bar in it. We've got a industrial, like a real restaurant kitchen.
Oh,
we've
nice.
got a dining room that seats maybe, I think the most we've had around that big table is probably 20, 22, 23. We had the first time we ever had a party there, when I had enough of the building and the rooms finished, was the Strokes needed to use it to rehearse in for their tour that started in Portland. And they their manager had called me up, and I said, well, yeah, sure, man, yeah, come on over. And he goes, how much do you want? And I said, well, let's have a big dinner party and you just pay for it.
That's nice.
Yeah. And so and then we were friends with Jet, who was opening for them. And they said, so we were like, bring Jet, and then we got a call from the Vines.
Oh my gosh.
They were in town the same night with a day off as well, opening for our Danish friends who Love in a Trash Can. But anyway, so we had like 5 bands all hanging around, and we had a big dinner. I probably cost them a couple bucks for that dinner party, but we had a friend's restaurant. They
Do you have
came
like
over
French
and cooked
wine
in
your wine bar?
That's all we sell. We don't sell wine from our rosé is from Provence.
Nice.
Our red is from Bordeaux. Our white is from Burgundy.
I'm from Burgundy myself.
Where in Burgundy?
Close to Dijon.
Okay.
Chalon-sur-Saône, which is on the road of Le Grand Cru, what they call the road of the Grand Cru. Of you have all the vineyards, and if you take a trip from my hometown to Dijon, there's only like, small parcels.
We'll be in Oyer.
Oh yeah, where is that?
It's outside of Meursault.
Oh yeah. Oh nice.
Meursault is the best.
Oh yeah,
white wine. White
Meursault.
Hermitage is good, but I think I like white Meursault, and you got to pay for it too. But it's the best white wine in the world.
That's what I miss the most, being here in California, because it's even more expensive.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, we'll be there, in this summer. So I'm going to see how much it is in Meursault to just go sit and.
You've been there already or not?
I've never been to Meursault.
Oh, you're going to love it.
No, several years ago we camped out in Macon for a few days.
Oh yeah, well that's where I'm from.
And that's adequate. The white wine is fine, but it's not Meursault.
Oh no,
it's not
totally not
refined to that level or that elegant or.
The one I really love is from Givry.
Yeah, like not Gevry Chamberton, but
that's a good one too.
Givry
is a great one. It's one of my favorite.
Okay.
And Haute Côte de Beaune or Haute Côte de Nuit Saint-Georges.
Yeah, Nuit Saint-Georges and
not
Côte de Nuit.
Too expensive, but really good.
20 a bottle.
Oh wow!
So $20 a bottle in Portland. I can get the Nuit Saint-Georges and the Côte de Nuit, and Côte de Beaune. Like those can be got for 18 to 24 a bottle.
Yeah.
Good ones, really good ones.
It's okay if it's 18.
And if you can stick them in your cellar for 5 years, they get really good.
Yeah.
Really, really good. I just pulled out a 2015.
Oh, nice.
On New Year's, and had that with dinner, and it was just crazy. Like what kind of flavors emerge out of that. So we're having a wine wrap now. I feel the way about wine now in my life the way I felt about music when I was 13.
Oh, wow.
It holds all that mystery. It's a drug that I can never get enough of.
Yeah. Same for me. I mean, like aging, like I cut everything else mostly alcohol. I mean, occasionally I'll drink a beer or something, but I'm not into hard liquor anymore. I need my good wine.
Yeah, I don't drink beer or hard spirits. I'm not interested. I don't have. It's sort of like I only have. It's like Tetris.
Uh-huh.
I only have room for this one thing
Yeah,
anymore.
exactly.
It's everything. Every other part of my life is filled up. I mean, it's like if I'm gonna drink and I'm going to get drunk, I'm gonna pound water and try not to forget to pound water along with it. But I just don't want to waste it on something that isn't wine.
Exactly, and it's a whole culture, and it's a history, and it's that's the beauty of it. So you can research it in all those small parcels. You go to Marceau, you go to Pomard, and they're so different, and they're next to each other
Yep.
because it's
Yep.
art to me, I guess.
It is. It's also the flavor of the dirt.
Yes.
If you've ever done
exactly.
a barrel sampling
Uh-huh.
when the wine has if the juice hasn't been in there for very long, like only a week or two, and a lot of them, if it's the same winemaker, then several of them might have the same clones being grown
Mm-hmm.
in different plots of dirt, and then with the same winemaker and the same barrel, the same cooperage. So but you can't really taste that for months anyway. So I did this the other day. Well, like a month ago in Napa. A friend of mine who's like, he gets he would get hundreds from Robert Parker, and he just got a double hundy from like Jeb Dunnick and Wine Spectator, and he's a fantastic winemaker. His wines are amazing. But we were tasting, sometimes the same clone of the same, rootstock.
Mm-hmm.
From one from the Rutherford Shelf and one from Tokalon or one of these other places, and it just tasted like a different wine. It tasted
Yeah.
like a different grape. Tasted like a different winemaker. It tasted like a different region. It was
It's
insane,
crazy.
and they're 4 miles apart.
And it's also because of the sun, because of the way it's going to be exposed, because so many
Yeah.
factors will change the taste, right?
Yeah, the dirt. I didn't believe it, but now I'm completely convinced that
You're
the
sold
dirt
to
will. It doesn't even matter what grape you stick in there, really. They're just a juice bag, like it's the dirt is what is. The dirt has a huge amount. I guess the thickness of the skin probably is gonna the tannic and acidic part of the structure will come from the. I think Pinot Noir or thin-skinned grapes, Cab Sauves or thick-skinned grape maybe. I might have that backwards. I don't remember, but that'll do something to the very top end, the top notes of acid and tannin and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But man, the dirt is like where it's at. It's 90% of the flavor of wine, I think.
And so you have this wine bar in the studio. It's in the same place, right? The studio.
Yeah,
the
it's
recording studio?
just across the hall, from the dining room. So, and it it's just off. There's a common entrance for the studio, and then the wine bar is to your left, and it's locked off from the rest of the studio.
Okay.
And so when we're in there working in the studio and starting to lack inspiration or getting tired, mentally tired, we can always just let's go across the street to the wine bar, and then you just
Nice.
walk out into the main entrance and across that hallway, across the foyer, and you're in the wine bar, and it feels like you could be anywhere. It's a whole life and people talking and laughing and hanging, and yeah, and it's great. It's a really rock, like 90s rock, 80s kind of like a grunge.
You mean the
where
vibe?
grungers hung out in Seattle in the late 80s. Yeah, the vibe and the way I decorated it and built it was to look like one of those kind of bars that I enjoyed so much in my teenage years, because I used to get to go to bars because I lived in this armpit, forgotten city called Portland, Oregon. Seattle was, and if you had, if you were a rocker, they just you just walk into a bar, and I've been going to bars since I was 15.
Yeah, it's the only thing you had to do there, I guess, back in the day, playing music and go to the bar,
Yeah, play pool.
play pool.
Yeah, they put a Gold's Gym in. It was like $1 a day. So I went ahead and got a gym membership, and I had in my late teens after high school, I became a janitor at a strip club as my first job to put myself through college. And
I've been to Portland once, and I was amazed by every bar is a strip club, basically.
oh, it used to have more per capita than any other town in America, I was told. But yeah, I had this routine. I would take maybe 2 classes a day in the morning, and then go eat rice and beans and boss sauce and pico de gallo, and it was $1.50 for black beans, brown rice, pico de gallo, all organic, at a place called Machismo Mouse. And then we would go, my roommate and I, who was the bass player in my band and I was a drummer, he and I would go to our rehearsal room, and the dude that owned the warehouse that had the rehearsal rooms also refurbed theater chairs, theater seats, and pool tables. So there's always pool tables. So we would practice, play pool, practice, play pool. Then we go work out, exercise at the gym, and then we would go practice more, and then we would go eat, and we would this is all we did. Then we'd maybe go home, watch a movie. And,
so there was no other plan.
And then go see bands at night, and
it was all about music and hanging out and having fun, I guess.
That's it. Yeah, go to bars where the bartender, if you're under 21, which we always were for, so many years of our, our teenage, late teen life. Just years ticked away, so you got to go there, and then you're also getting drinks for free, and try to meet.
So
meet
you
girls.
recreated that kind of at the. Is it called the auditorium, your studio, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you kind of recreated that. So do you have one place where you
that dirty bar
create?
Vibe.
You have your bar. Do you have a gym?
We have a pool table. We have a gym 3 blocks away.
Oh, nice.
I go in the morning and just play. I stretch for a while and then play racquetball by myself.
All right.
I just hit the racquetball. I don't like to compete or anything. I don't care about that. But it's just super mentally healthy. It's a healthy thing to do. And I live 2 miles away from the studio, so I walk.
So you built yourself a little universe of your own.
Yeah,
in the same block.
yeah.
So I guess
one neighborhood. I never leave my neighborhood.
Except for touring.
Yeah. If I leave my neighborhood, I like to include London.
So anyway,
do you just speak French and English, or do you have other languages in there?
I speak Spanish too.
Rattling around in your dome.
My mom was born in Spain, so
that's cool.
I spent all my childhood summers over there. So I learned with my cousins. And I learned a little bit of Italian when I was in high school, but not enough to have a good conversations with people.
Just enough to dress down a waiter,
yeah.
shoo out a cabbie, a Uber driver.
So here we are in the desert, and I think you've already been here before playing with the Dandies in Joshua Tree or around here.
Yeah, we've been doing Joshua Tree for years and years and years now.
And right now, this is not a tour; it's just a one-off thing before your European tour that's coming this summer.
Yeah, it's a little, kind of dry run. We haven't done it in years, so since 2019. So we're working the bugs out, and wow, I'm really glad we're doing this because there are plenty of bugs to be worked out.
What do you mean?
See, his distortion pedal doesn't work. Pete's amps are out of phase.
So it's like a warm-up gigs to make sure everything.
Oh my god!
Work.
Yeah.
That's cool, and it's a very unique setting because it's a film festival. I haven't said anything as an introduction. We just started talking, but it's a Pioneertown Film Festival, and you're gonna play in a kind of a barn, and it's quite amazing.
It feels like a old country dance hall.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it could be Kane's Ballroom in Tulsa or something.
Exactly, and it's a very unique atmosphere, I guess, here in on this old movie set from the probably the 40s, 50s. So Is that an incidence on the way you're going to choose your set list, or not at all?
Absolutely not. Dude.
We're not doing a country show tonight.
If we were really in the swing of it and had been playing a lot and had our business together, we would definitely, because we're a band who's put a couple country songs on every record.
Yes, I noticed that. I wanted
so
to.
we've probably got 15 country or cowpunk or Tex-Mex-y songs. So we would have a good set of only that. But it's like, we've got, like in 5 days we get on a plane and we land in Stockholm.
Yeah.
And
so we're not just going to do
it's going to be Paris. It's going to be,
You're playing the Olympia, right?
Are
you playing the Olympia?
L'Olympia, yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's a beautiful venue, right?
It's the legendary one.
Yeah.
It's where we play. We're very lucky to do it. And then the other legendary place that we're very, very lucky to be a part of, its history, is the Roundhouse in London.
Oh.
Where the Ramones met the Clash and the Sex Pistols, who were new bands that nobody had heard of yet. They had to sneak them in the back. There's a famous picture of, like, I think it's like Dee Dee and Johnny pulling Sid Vicious in through the window up because the door at the top of the stairs that everyone hangs out at was locked. And so they had to pull him in through. They had to pull the Sex Pistols in through the.
Is it like a fuel for your creation, like music history, like thinking about all those groundbreaking bands and the history of the places? Because for example, when I'm hanging on Sunset Boulevard, I think about the Laurel Canyon days. I think about the 70s, and then how it died and how the Sunset Strip now is kind of lame, and but it always fuels me, like
you can't help it. It just when you're in a place like that, like when you're in the Olympia, you're surrounded by pictures of Serge Gainsbourg, the Beatles, the Doors, Led Zeppelin. Everyone played there. It's just it's the Olympia, and you can't help but feel it the whole time. And you got to bring your A game, man. You got to be good, like you just can't help it. It's definitely like it's that moment where this is the gig that is in your mind for the entire week ahead of all those other gigs. You definitely feel a great relief that you don't have as much pressure, and then pretty much you start thinking about the Roundhouse after that. And we'll go through Zurich, and we'll go through Milano, and we'll go through wherever we go through, Warsaw and Berlin, and where blah 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 blah, right? Always thinking about the
that's funny.
How are we going to work that Roundhouse? If we get a sound check, we got to record sound check, and then I got to go out and EQ the room because it's a Roundhouse.
Put on yourself just by the history of it.
Yeah, exactly. The history, you got the.
I guess it gives you a goal to, when you're in a long schedule of dates, to like, in a week we'll be at the Roundhouse.
It helps you not be nervous at all for any of the other shows. Those are just pure pleasure. They're like a you can smoke pot before you get on stage. You can have wine and like just switch to water an hour earlier. Finish dinner maybe an hour and a half earlier. Stop drinking wine. Come down, digest, and then if you got some weed, you get that.
Then you're all set.
That kind of tune. It makes you humble. There's something about grass that makes you humble, and it makes you definitely remember that you are the servant. And the music is not there to serve you. You are there to serve it. It's the big man. You're the little groveling claws scrabbling across the.
It's very great to hear that you still enjoy doing the live shows and the tours after such a career.
Yeah. It's you know, and we set up our music. I wrote these songs to be very simple, so that we're not doing technical exercises. We can put it. We can have enough muscle memory that we can actually feel it and soak in it while we're making it. So it's sort of creating your own wave while you're surfing it, you know, and then making it simple enough that you can also do a little enjoying of it too. You're not just technical exercise. You don't just. We're not those kind of people. You know, we're sensualists.
Yeah, which is amazing. I think because you're able to enjoy every show you're doing yourself.
Absolutely.
And not focusing
every
on
practice, every sound check. We, you know, it's just a different kind of sex, but it's very similar.
There's a similarity of the trance.
Yeah, the build up and the release and everything, you know, it's real. It's all in your head, you know, but.
All right. Well, I'm very looking forward to see you perform tonight.
I hope we can do it. I hope we can overcome the technical.
There are technical issues right now.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Damn.
It's a mess, but you know, we're a band from the old punk days where it was always like this.
Make it work.
Exactly. Yeah.
How do you have a last question? How do you pick your songs for your set list? Because
I don't know.
I don't know. It's recording so much stuff that are so different.
Oh, we don't know. It's, you know, we talk about that all the time. How would we pick a set? For God's sake.
Does it change like a lot or?
No. We have to play at least a couple songs from every record. We would feel not very good about ourselves if we didn't. And then there's just the fact that you know, we had so many hits in this 10 years area of, you know, 96 to 2006. So then you got those, and then that's your whole set. Right, you play a couple from each record and make sure you include most of the hits, almost all of them, you know, and even the ones that made it to number 38 that didn't go to number 2 or number 5 in the UK or 1 in Europe or whatever, you know. But we've actually played shows and walked off stage and gone, oh my God, we didn't play Bohemian Like You tonight. Well, we're not going to go out and play it now.
Nope. Sorry, guys.
They've just forgot. No one noticed.
I seen like
no one in the audience even seemed to notice.
Well,
no one yelled it.
You
know, they yell for good morning. You know, they yell for like country lever or, you know, whatever. They don't. I mean, nobody seems to really yell out Bohemian Like You or any of the huge ones. Used to be Friends or something.
We used to be friends, I guess.
Yeah, those are definitely the two big ones. We thought when Not If You Were the Last Junkie on Earth was huge, and we were playing all the big festivals and selling out venues, and it was such a thing of the times. You know, there was Vogue magazine would, you know, dress up little girls in wedding dresses and put them in the country and put dark circles under their eyes, and you know, and put very white makeup on their arms and faces and throats, and you know, heroin chic. The heroin chic issue, and it was horror. It was. I was outraged by it. And then I got home from my first tour. My girlfriend had become a junkie. She had hooked up with the singer from my previous band where I was a drummer, and his girlfriend, and they were a little threesome of heroin. And so this song just blurted it out of me. And but it was regarded as a gimmick song, you know, whatever they call that, a novelty song. And so we were always told that we were going to be a one-hit wonder. At that point, everyone thought that was going to be our only hit, and it was big, and it was going to be our big hit. So, and then Bohemian Like You happened, and that just, you know, obviously leveled the playing field. And then we were told again, oh, you guys are just going to be, that's a novelty
kept
song. It's
happening.
going to be a one-hit wonder. And then Used to Be Friends became a big hit. No one remembered Bohemian Like You or Not If Your Last Junkie on Earth. So then that we were a one-hit wonder yet again, 10 years later. So, but that was definitely our last big hit. And then we all had kids and families and you know. And so you don't.
But you're still a legendary
try.
band and cult band. I would say like a lot of people rave about your music. So
Yeah, it feels good. We invented a sound and a style of going about things because we weren't good enough to do anything else, and that was cool. And then we've survived. Just even surviving is the ultimate FU to everybody in the industry that just look down their noses at us or just like, yeah, well,
that's what I love about your bands. Like zero fucks given about any expectations from other people.
Yeah.
Artistic freedom that you showed, like even like releasing like Tafel music during the pandemic. The first track is 36 minutes.
Yeah.
And the whole record is like that.
Why don't you do me a huge favor and get online and find the whole Tafel music package? I have it's for a 9-course dinner party.
Uh-huh.
With, I think, almost exclusively French wine, except I have a recipe from when they put the dome on the Duomo at Florence, Firenze, Italy, where they made the bricks for the Duomo, was up in the hills because there was only one place they could get them where they wouldn't mold.
Ooh,
right?
wow.
Somehow they were mold resistant, and the architect who just went up there and lived with these brick making,
what's his name again?
People, he lived up there, and he would eat in the bocas, the mouths where they shoveled in the wood and the whatever and pulled out coals and stuff of those of the kilns, the giant kilns. They would just hang black iron pots, and it had this wine, fresh herbs that they would just pull out like weeds outside, throw them in there, and chunks of meat, and they would just cook all day, just sitting in the open, in the open mouth of these giant kilns. They would just cook all day, and when they needed a break, they would just take their bowl, and everyone carried a spoon back in medieval times. You carried a spoon in your hat, carried a knife at your side, and generally carried a bowl somehow or a plate. And they would just eat some of it. So it was constantly changing a little bit. So I found that recipe online. I found whole story online. So that, I believe, is the last savory course before dessert of the Tafel music record. And we have each of those pieces of music is like the salad course is bright and crispy, and it has lots of the soup. When it hits the soup course, it goes whoa, 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 whoa.
It's a concept album.
Whoa. Absolutely.
Culinary.
It's a culinary concept
Brunelleschi,
album.
that was his name, the architect.
Yeah.
I love Florence. It's amazing.
I only went there once.
Me too.
And there are so many American college programs going on there
Yeah.
that I didn't run into enough. I didn't meet Italians, and you walk down the street and you're kind of dreaming, and then you hear, "Oh my God, bro! Don't diss me, yo! I lost my phone. Oh, dog, I'm so sorry, bro." And it's just like, oh God, again.
I have a terrible anecdote about Venice. There was so we were visiting Venice, and of course it was terrible because it was overcrowded. And there was this
right.
American
You can't
woman,
walk.
And she asked somebody, she's like, "What time does it close, Venice?"
What time does Venice?
Yeah, like it was Disneyland.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, oh my gosh, we need to get out of it right now.
Oh man.
And as much as I love Florence because it's filled with art and architecture, and the center is
incredible stuff,
and the cathedral is just mind blowing. It's just staring at it. It's like a whole experience. The best time we had was when we were like driving around Tuscany and just stopping by anywhere we could You know,
Yeah,
spend
and
the night.
Umbria's right there,
Yeah.
which is less, even less sort of populated and intense and fabu than Tuscany. You know, it's Umbria is sort of like the forgotten little brother
Yeah.
of Tuscany, which I really enjoyed myself there quite a lot. Yep, traveling, man. We have a song about that, of course, because stuck at home for 2 years. So our next record has a song called Teutonic Wine.
Oh,
And
nice.
yeah, it's just about
So
how
you
much
got
I
a new
miss
album
traveling.
coming?
Yeah. Well, I think we just finally got a mix. Interestingly enough, we tried a couple, a really good, great, and very famous and amazing mixer.
Nice.
And he hasn't finished it yet. But then one of Pete's, our guitarist, one of his English friends, who's mainly a remixer, just sent us a mix of our first track. That is, I'm just listening. I listened to it like 10, 15 times in a row.
Yes.
I've spent like 40 minutes just going, okay, one more time, and then I'm gonna get up and go walk the dogs, or whatever. And I just can't stop.
You know what? That's the best feeling.
Oh my God.
When you just recorded.
Am I crazy? I'm either totally crazy or this is amazing. And it could be that something's wrong with me right now, and I need this, for better or worse. I need it, but I'm absolutely hooked. It is definitely like a
I can
pretty
totally
serious
relate
drug.
to that, because whenever I write a song and demo it, because that's usually what I do, I have to record it to listen to it, and then I put it in the car. I have to listen to it on repeat. And sometimes I'm embarrassed if somebody's gonna pick up my phone and they see I just listen to my own music. But that's why we do music, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And I heard you saying that 80% of what you're listening is the Dandy Warhols. So I can say
it's always there for me. It's exactly the way It's exactly the way I want music to be. And there's obviously there's just amazing songs in the world, and everybody's got their bazillion favorites, but I actually got to make records with some of the greatest producers and engineers and stuff of history, really, and make it the way I wanted it to be, with these other great artists in my band and how they wanted their parts to be and what they wanted to see happen. And they all have great taste and are very, very talented and visionary in their own ways. And adding that to me writing the songs, and then having that pool of talent to go, hey, you guys, do you want to make this one into a record, this into a recording? And like, then they start tweaking, and then it's just better and better. And it's, of course, that's what I listen to,
Well, that's very inspiring. Thank you so much for giving me your time.
Thanks for being a fan and being interested in what we do. We're very fortunate at this point that we got to kind of do it our way, so that it has thick enough personality that it's lasted.
Well, I'll try to remember
It's
that.
stinky with it, musky and odoriferous with our stinky persons.
I think your band is like good wine. Ages well and better and better. You got that
Seems
dirty,
to.
the dirt, you can feel it.
Yeah. It's there's some earth in our records, that's for sure.
Can't wait to
All right,
listen
cool.
to new songs. Thank you.
All right, merci.